Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Exploring the Paranormal in the New Year. So happy you guys are here with us today, and I am looking forward to bringing on my guest. He is a repeat guest on the show, so make sure you guys have all your questions, because I know last time he was on the show, several people had responded saying we want him back. We have lots of questions. And if you are watching the replay, make sure you still ask your questions in the comments, and I will make sure that either myself or my guest today gets those questions answered. So while we get ready, let's bring on, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Doing great. How about you?
Oh, really, really good. Of course, fighting that New Year cold that, had to come around on the first day of the year. Go figure.
Yep. The New Year cold or the New Year flu depends on where you're at.
Exactly. So again, I'm super excited to have you on as the first guest of the year. I knew exactly who I wanted to be, and that was you. So I'm glad we were able to make this happen.
I feel honored. Thank you.
Thank you. So for those of my followers that don't know who you are, do you mind taking a moment to explain who you are and maybe give a little insight on what got you into the paranormal?
Okay. I'm Bobby Resnick Calkins. I'm a member of the Cryptids Anomaly and Paranormal Society team. I'm from Wisconsin. I'm Native American. I'm a part-time tattoo artist. I grew up in a spiritualist church. Both parents were ministers. So those that aren't familiar with spiritualist church, we believe in the life after death. We believe in spirit communication, the phenomena of spiritualism, and also mediumship work. So I pretty much, from a young age, knew about the spirit world, knew about the paranormal, but it took several years for me to step out and eventually join a team that I trusted to start going out and researching and checking out different locations and helping those that are suffering from different things in their homes that can be considered a haunting or something like that.
Okay, perfect. And one question I do want to ask, just because it was my favorite topic from the last time you were on the show, are you still doing ink therapy?
I am. I am. Not as much as I'd like to be. I just haven't had much time, between the day job, doing research and other things, and of course, hosting my new show. I just haven't had time to really bring people in to take care of it. And I'm getting messages every day. It's like, when are you gonna have time? And it's like, I'm trying. I'm balancing, doing a juggling act here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know when I see you, I have the perfect tattoo that I need to get.
We'll get together.
Yeah, I've been wanting it for a while, but I haven't had. I have one, but I've been wanting another one for a while, so I definitely need to meet up with you.
Well, the wife and I were supposed to be coming to Florida in February, but I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not.
Okay. Well, if you do, definitely let me know.
I'll bring my equipment with.
Definitely. I know I'm supposed to be going back to Nevada for filming, but we were told spring. They really didn't give us any dates.
Nice.
So I'm thinking spring is like March or April, so I should be here in February. If you do make it down, if not, we'll find time. I know I'm supposed to be going to Illinois, hopefully, to visit family, and then also a friend of mine, he owns a restaurant that he believes to be haunted, and he wants to host an event there.
Well, I want to come. That's my old stomping grounds. I'm born and raised down there.
Okay, yep, yeah. The restaurant's in Crystal Lake.
Okay, I know exactly where it's at.
Yep, yeah. I grew up in McHenry. So
okay, see, I grew up in the Romanville, Joliet area. Is where I went to high school and hung out. Mm-hmm. Earlier years, Gurney, Waukegan, and then all the way until I moved to Wisconsin, I was in the mobile auto glass industry since the time I was 18, and I used to travel the entire state putting in windshields down there. So I'm familiar with that whole area completely.
Yep. I used to go to Gurney Mills all the time.
I remember watching it being built.
Yes. Yep. And Great America. We were there every summer.
Yep, me too. We had passes.
Yep.
At the time they were building Gurney Mills, I actually lived unincorporated Lake Villa, which would be Rollins Road, right outside of Grays Lake. And we go to Great America, you see it being built. My father had a repair shop in Waukegan. So every day, you're passing back and forth for some reason or another, and you'd see it just get a little bit more. That used to be nothing but a swamp area, I remember.
Yep. Or have you ever been to Volo?
Yes, I've been out there.
Antique mall out there. Oh,
yeah. A lot of nice cars.
Yes, yeah, and a lot of spirits inside that building.
Yep.
I was still younger, and geez, because I moved from that area to Florida, I was 25, and I wasn't investigating yet, but I was researching at the time.
Yep.
And I just walking into that building, I was like, I'm being followed.
Yeah.
And there's like nobody near me.
When you're sensitive, you pick that up.
Yep.
No matter, it could be a building downtown, it could be someone's house.
Mm-hmm.
The minute you walk in, you can tell there's
Oh yeah.
something there.
Yep. Yeah, it's because it's funny. We were at my parents' house for New Year's Eve, and I was talking to my mom. The area that we want to move to, I mean, it's just about 30 minutes down the road, but they have a antique store there
Okay.
that's inside a funeral home, a former
Nice.
funeral home. And I'm like, oh, I got to get in there. And my mom's like, if you can get in there, she's like, the way you feel.
Well, I know where there's a church in Cicero that I grew up in
Mm-hmm.
that used to be a funeral home. And that was actually one of the very first times I actually seen a shadow figure
Mm-hmm.
was in the church.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. And I'm still torn on it. I mean, I know we've taken a turn for the topic, but I know I'm still torn on funeral homes being haunted,
Yep.
because my thing is as a spirit, I wouldn't want to hang around there.
Right.
You're going to go where you're the happiest type of thing. So what are your thoughts on why they actually are haunted?
I think a little bit might be that the ones that are there hanging around, they don't know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't realized that they can cross over. And it might have been the last gathering place where all their family was there. Or it could be someone that actually worked in the funeral home,
Mm-hmm.
someone that felt comfortable there. Because you have a lot of different places where people go back to their jobs because that was their happiest times, where they were most comfortable, what they loved. So there's them two options right there why they might be still there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The sixth sense, continue working after.
Yeah, some of them I believe don't realize that they've passed on.
Right.
Or it could be just the residual energy that they were such a strong energy presence there for so long
Mm-hmm.
that residual is still there doing the same thing it did prior to them getting to pass over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And actually, while you were talking, I mean, I know some funeral homes, the families actually live there.
Yeah.
So it could have also been tied to that as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of things in a deep rabbit hole you can go down to investigate when it comes to funeral homes.
Yeah. And, a lot of the times that I've been in funeral homes, it's always been, content. Nothing, I've never felt threatened. But I know there have been several reports, of course, the hunting in Connecticut story. They moved into a funeral home and they were attacked.
Yeah.
Do you think that could be something just kind of lingering there, or something that maybe someone manifested themselves?
Personal opinion, I'd lean more towards something that was manifested there,
Mm-hmm.
Or something that was attached to someone that came in there and they're like, oh, this is a good prime opportunity here.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have all that sadness and sorrow.
Right.
And it appears the negativity feeds on that.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, when you have all that, it's like almost starting of the making of a perfect storm for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a buffet.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's almost like they're laying in wait for someone to follow home.
Yep.
Not so much that they want to stay there, but they're kind of, waiting to see who they could attach themselves to.
Yeah. They're looking for their next meal, their next energetic meal.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So real quick before we continue, I want to say hello to everyone who is watching. Mort says hello.
Hi.
Yvonne says hi to both of us and Happy New Year to you too. And then York is on and says, this will be interesting.
It usually is when we get together.
Yes, it is. And everyone, feel free to ask any questions you have throughout the show. We're both more than happy to talk about anything paranormal, or,
Yep.
And like we had talked before we even went live, if you don't know the answer, we'll either figure it out together or we'll find the answer and get back to everybody later on.
Exactly.
So, I know I still have a list of questions that when I get the answers, I share it on a show in the future.
Yep.
When I figure it out. So before we went live, I know one of the topics that we had quickly discussed was Native American hauntings.
Yep.
And you kind of gave me some questions and some ideas. Um, what are your thoughts? Because I always want to try to be respectful in that aspect,
Hmm.
and with any type of paranormal activity as well. But it's always, for some people, it's sensitive. And how would you suggest, if someone wanted to actually go out and try to collect evidence and prove Native American hauntings, what would you suggest be done?
Well, from my experience, most of the time, those that have a Native American haunting, the natives want to be acknowledged. They want to be remembered. They want to be honored, and if there's any of the wrongdoing on the property or in the location, they'd like that kind of made right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I go out to do an investigation, it don't matter if it's native related or not, I always drop tobacco down. I say a small prayer, letting them I'm coming in honor and peace, and I'm here. I want to hear their story. I'm here to interact with them so their story can be told. So when I drop my tobacco, then I go in and pursue my investigation. That's one of the ways to show the honor. If you already know, like there is a native haunting there and you're pretty sure, you can honor it by laying tobacco. When you have big family gatherings, if it's a home and you're doing like big meals like Christmas or Easter or something like that, put a little spirit plate out for them. Take a paper plate, put a little bit of each of the food that you have there that you're feeding your guests, and put it outside for them and leave it there. And not only will that kind of help appease them, but it's going to feed the rest of the critters in the area and be harmonious with one-on-one. Because that's a lot of the beliefs were of our people back in the day was, we all live together. We all live hand in hand. So we all take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then if you're still questioning about, whether it's a native haunting or not, reach out to some of the local tribes. Some of them that were in that area can tell you if anything has happened on that land. Do your research,
Mm-hmm.
or even call in a paranormal team that has a good reputation that might have somebody on their team of that culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions is, have you ever, I don't know if you have, or if you know someone who has either conducted an EVP session or tried to communicate with the spirits using maybe what might have been their native tongue or their
Um,
tribal tongue?
I haven't tried with the native tongue yet.
Okay.
I have someone that speaks, our tongue from our tribe that I'd love to get out on an investigation and see. I
Mm-hmm.
know there's other people out there, such as what's called Hero from Unearthing Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
When him and his team go out, most of the speaking they do is in their native tongue, the language of the ancestors, and they seem to get some pretty interesting responses from that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Because I know here in Florida, a lot of teams that I've worked with and talked to, they get more responses when they have someone speaking Spanish.
Because of
Yeah.
the condensity of the amount of lineage there of the Spanish is probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of, I mean, I just finished Haunted Roadside Attractions is my newest book. And even the other two books that I've submitted, it was like all dating back to, Spanish settlers, Spanish this, and it was like, oh, that make, go to the forts and speak Spanish, and they get lots of interaction with that.
Yep.
Yep. So.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot of different locations that I go to where there's any kind of history from us natives. They reach out to me either to me directly or through our mediums on the team
Mm-hmm.
to communicate with me. It's been pretty unique that way, and that's was kind of brought me on some of the different paths that I'm walking now. I'm looking more into working with the Native Americans into the paranormal field, and also, trying to figure out more of the ancestry of the different areas. I had someone on my show talking about the Native American burial grounds,
Mm-hmm.
and effigy mounds, as they call them.
Mm-hmm.
And no one has ever really gone out there as a team to investigate. Well, my theory is, okay, I've heard of other teams researching these mounds and not getting anything. Not these particular ones that we were talking about, but other mounds.
Right.
And it was, I hate to say it like this, but it was nothing but a white team. There was no natives on that team.
Yep.
Now, my theory is, you take a native out there, either speaking English or if they can speak in their native tongue, I'm willing to bet there would be interaction.
Yep. Yeah. And it's all about who you're comfortable with.
Yep.
Because, and it's all, you got to think back to not what life is like today, but what life was like back then. Back then, they might not have been comfortable speaking to, a white person.
Yep.
And that's why they're not talking to us now.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't know the ways to honor them when you're coming to speak to them. Like, when you go to speak to someone, an elder, like on a native tribe, and you're looking for information, you don't come empty handed. You bring tobacco, you bring something for them as a gift, an offering. And that's something that today's society doesn't follow. So when you're going out there and you're going trying to interact, well, what are you bringing them? What are you giving them for as incentive to interact with you?
Yep, exactly. And York has a question, but before I get to his question, I just wanted to know, whenever you leave a gift behind, of course, do you leave it behind or do you take it with you?
No, you leave it for them.
The investigation, you just leave it there. And then have you ever noticed that it disappears before you leave?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay. Because that would be interesting to see if it, I understand the food would disappear because of the animals.
Yeah.
But anything like tobacco or anything like that.
Yeah, I've never had tobacco leaf, but then again, I've never really gone back to look.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'd be curious on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then York wants to know, going back to the different languages, would spirits understand all languages?
See, that's a tough one because some of the research I've done, both with the church and then also with the paranormal team and all that, it seems to be that once you cross over and you're tapping into the source, all languages. That's why you'll have, some people, you'll have the Spanish speaking, like you were talking about, but then you can go into a certain area where they didn't speak English, but you have English speaking investigators there and they're getting English responses on their EVPs.
Right.
So that one I don't know yet, and I don't think we'll find out until we cross over for sure.
Right, and that one I'm torn on too because some studies that we're doing right now is with the EVPs. Is just a little portion of me thinks that some of the EVPs we get are our own thoughts. So like when someone, that's why the whole Estes method is one of the best things out there in the aspect of reducing that. Because, someone on your team may ask a question and then someone else may think it, or think what the answer should be. And that's what we're catching up on our digital voice recorders.
I got something for you to try. Next time you go out, take your entire team, concentrate on one thought while your EVP recorder is going.
Yep.
Think it for a few minutes while it's running, then replay your recorder and see if it pops up.
Yeah.
I've heard of someone doing that before, and they actually had a response of what they were thinking.
Yep. Yeah. We're trying that right now with the Ovilus, but because I'm trying to do that in the Ovilus, but it hasn't come through yet for us.
Yep. But here you can play devil's advocate with that now. Some say that spirit knows our thoughts before we speak it. Now, are they reading our thoughts, or are we projecting that onto that device?
Right. Yep. Yeah. All things that we need answers to.
Yep. You might get one answer that you think you want, but then it's going to lead you down another rabbit hole probably.
Oh, yeah. I spend my days going down rabbit holes. It's like my last book. It was due in November. And I had to keep telling the publisher, I need another week, because I would research one thing. And 6 more chapters.
I think that's why I haven't sat down to try to write a book yet, because it'd be so many rabbit holes that I couldn't be on a deadline.
Right. Yeah, that's why I have contracts for multiple books, because I have so many rabbit holes, and I'm just going to keep writing them. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. That's what I wanted to ask. Going back to, I know I had Barnaby on the show last year. And had a lot of fun talking about Sasquatch and a whole bunch of cryptids and stuff like that. Have you guys had any luck in your cryptid research recently?
Yeah, actually, there was a time that we were up on the Haydn Adventure, which
Mhm.
it's in Barnaby's new book. I don't know if you knew he had a book out. Haydn is
He was
Bigfoot.
getting one at the time, but I didn't know it was out yet.
Yep, you can find it on Amazon or on our website. It's Haydn, Hyden, is Bigfoot,
Hmm.
or Bigfoot is Haydn, something like that. I got the book in the other room.
Okay.
But yeah, and it talks about one of the times that we were out there, and we were out walking the property, and just a little bit into the wood line, we heard something. So we stopped, and we knew it was something big.
Hmm.
And next thing you know, you hear like a thump, almost like a foot, a heavy foot coming down at one part, and then directly to the left of where we heard that noise, we heard another one. So it would signal to be two different things, but we couldn't find nothing on thermal. We went into the woods, kind of chasing this around, and we chased it where it would basically would have looped around onto it,
Hmm.
and we could find nothing. So yeah, we've had some experiences out there.
Right. Okay. So with that, one thing I ask every cryptid researcher that I get on the show is, do you think that Bigfoot could be an interdimensional, or could it be a spirit of an animal from the past because it disappears
Yeah.
so quickly?
My personal belief, and this is just mine, I
Mhm.
believe he's flesh and blood, but interdimensional.
Okay.
The whole spirit. Yeah, I believe there could be spirits of Bigfoot out there, Sasquatch. You every living thing has a soul.
Hmm.
So if he's a living being, by interdimensional or not, he still has a soul, still has a spirit.
Right.
I actually had someone come up to me in the past and tell me that I have a Sasquatch spirit guide. They see
Hmm.
this huge Sasquatch standing behind me. And it kind of made sense because, to me, because I'm comfortable in the woods. I have no problem being out there in the dark. I hear something, I run for it, I go check it out. And I've always felt as if, like, Sasquatch is my big hairy brother. And
Hmm.
that's actually how I refer to him when I'm out in the woods trying to make contact.
Okay. Yep. And that's actually a question that I was going to ask at the end of the show is, who do you think your spirit guide or spirit animal would be, so that...
Well, I think I have multiple.
Mhm.
I do, like I said, I do had someone tell me I had a Sasquatch. I am Bear Clan, and I do believe the bear walks with me.
Hmm.
And then also, I believe I have hawks with me too, because everywhere I go, don't matter where in this country I go, I could be driving down the interstate and I'll see a hawk.
Hmm.
It don't matter if it's in Chicago, I'll see hawks down there. Yeah, up here, I see them all the time.
Hmm.
On my way to Arizona, last month to Arizona, I seen them every couple hundred miles. I'd see one.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, I'll have to
So,
send you photos. We actually have a wooded area behind us,
yep,
and it was late last year, but it happens quite often. Is there's a male and female hawk that would sit on our fence,
nice.
and it's just it was like, when they're there, it's like, oh my god, that's so cool.
It is. And to me, it's a warming feeling inside when I see them. It's almost like they honored me with posing in that one spot, waiting for me to come through.
Hmm. Yep, yep. They're watching over you.
Yeah.
So going back to speaking of the different languages, when it comes to cryptids and Bigfoot and all of that, do you think that they understand English, or...
Um, I don't know so much if they understand English.
Mhm.
There's been reports out in Nebraska that out on this one reservation that the Bigfoot out there understand that tribe's language.
Mhm.
That tribe's able to communicate with them.
Okay.
So I believe a lot has to do with who's had interaction with them and who they've been watching. Because as we know that, they say that Bigfoot is very curious. He's a watcher. He looks over everyone. So if he's been watching one certain area of ethnicity, he might pick up on their language.
Mhm. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I know my son, I don't think he would be a woods type character or person because he likes his computers and being indoors, and
Yeah,
he'll brave investigations with us when we do them, but it's not his favorite thing. But his theory on Bigfoot is that it's the spirit of a caveman, was
could
something that
be.
he brought up at one point.
Yeah,
He's like, he goes, they disappear. You can never find them. You can never get a good photo of them.
right. I can see something like that, but if I remember correctly, early man was not as big as we are today.
Right. Yeah, that's the only
You
issue with
know,
that one.
so that's and then yet there's talk of giants in the Bible, so could it be a descendant of that?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep.
You know,
So many questions.
yep. Like I said, I know what I believe, but
Mm-hmm. Yep.
my belief can change,
Mm-hmm.
all depending on the evidence.
Right.
That's the beauty of having an open mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so since we're kind of still in the paranormal realm, but not quite cryptid and not quite ghosts, what are your thoughts on UFOs?
Well, I've said this for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's ignorant of us as a species to think that the creator only created human beings and what's on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that there are other life forms out there. But unfortunately, with the technology we have, I think some of the sightings we have are government, and some of them might be for like a fear factor to try to keep us all in line.
Yep.
you know, yeah, I hate to sound like the conspiracy nut, but that's kind of what some of them I think are.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm trying to keep us in line with a little bit of fear or distraction.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe in alien life forms. I do believe that, they have contacted us and been on this planet. And for all I know, they could be walking around with us.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, kind of like, do you remember the movie They Live?
Yep.
Where you had to have the special glasses to see them?
Yep. I actually remember seeing that in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Roddy Piper is one of my favorite wrestlers when I was growing up.
Yep.
So my sisters knew that. When they knew that he had a movie that's coming out, they drugged me right to it.
It was a really good movie though.
Yep.
They did it
Let's
really
see,
well.
what was it? I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that came out at the same time or around the same time V did, the TV series. And that was really good as well.
Oh yeah, that tripped me out when they peel the skin off, the flesh off their face, and you see the lizard underneath.
Right.
That stuck with me all these years.
And it just makes you wonder. I mean, would they have, I don't really want to say cloaking devices like that, but would they have to use prosthetics to hide their natural look from us, or would they have the technology to just hit a button?
Well, even go one step further. Are they a little bit higher advanced that they're able to make us perceive them as what they want us to see?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The brain is an amazing thing that, you can perceive what it wants to perceive.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I know. I'm a big fan of Orville.
Okay.
Lately. And the things on there, you watch it, it's like, oh, that could be possible. And one of the things is that it was the one with the moon and the planet, or the sun and the planet like would go in and out of our dimension every 7 days. But during the 11 days, it would be here 7, gone 11. And then it would be like a couple thousand years between while it was gone. And, after several cycles, they became so advanced that they were able to make it, us see things.
Yeah.
And it's like, that could be possible.
Right. A lot of things are possible if you open your mind up and actually look.
Yep. So many things out there. And it's like, even with the paranormal field, I always tell everybody, we have all these different ways to investigate, which are great. They produce evidence and they do a whole bunch of other things, but we need to think outside the box.
Yep.
And advance the field. Yes, we know this is working, or we know this is not working. You could still use that, but we still need to be experimenting. And I'm not seeing that lately.
Yeah. That's because we need fresh blood. We need fresh thinking out there. Yep. I know when I first joined the team, back to talking about looking for Bigfoot research, I actually took some music out with me some drum music. And I said, Barnaby, I want to try something, experiment. I hear you guys hooting and hollering out there, tree knocking, and not everyone gets a response. So I'm like, why don't we try something that they might be a little more familiar with? Since Sasquatch is in my culture, in the lore of my people, why don't we play some drum music? Something that they should be used to. So I went out there and I played a prayer song, a gathering song, an intertribal, and I think a traveling one was the fourth one we played. And the first time we didn't get really much of a response. But the second one happened second time we tried it happened to be that night that we had the experience that we couldn't explain.
Mm-hmm.
And that was me going, okay, let's think outside the box. Let's do something a little bit different. Give her a shot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. That's actually, that brings me up a question that I want to do, but I want to say hello to everyone real quick. York had commented earlier that he's in Georgia and lived next to a stockade for the Trail of Tears. That has to have some heavy energy.
I would like to go down the Trail of Tears and see what I can pick up on.
Yep. Yeah, that would make for a great book. Kind of go like the history of the Trail of Tears and then what you're feeling and what you're getting today. That would be a book idea for you.
Yeah.
Jessica says hello from Australia. Hello, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, mate.
And Paranormal Connections is here. Hello, thank you for joining us. So one question I do have is, I know a lot of people talking about playing the music that they would be attracted to. A lot of people, era cues, get great activity and from that. I know Philip, my co-host on Wednesday nights, he dresses up as a Confederate soldier sometimes when they investigate certain battlegrounds or Civil War homes. Other people, women, have dressed in period clothing from the 1800s, 1700s. Have you guys ever gone out in attire that matches the type of activity you're trying to get?
No, we haven't. But I do have something I want to try down in Joliet if I ever get a chance to do an investigation at the Joliet prison, which is I'd like to turn myself into a giant trigger object. I have a theory. In my younger years, I wasn't the best guy. I got in some trouble. So I've been in and out of, county jails and all that. And cons usually won't talk to people that are average goody two-shoes, let's say.
Right.
Because of my colored checkered past, I believe if I was in that place in a set of orange jumpsuit as an inmate, as one of them, they would accept me as one of them, and I'd be able to get more communication from them. Basically, not turning myself into that giant trigger object.
Yeah. When you do that, I want to be there because I know that prison, and I knew people who worked there when it was open, and they would even say they had activity when they were open.
Well, even a lot of the ones down in Joliet are active. I have a brother of mine that has spent time in a lot of them, and I know he was telling about that one time that I believe it was a little toaster oven or something like that they had there, or a hot plate or something like that, caught right on fire. Their outlet sparked and started a fire, and they never once could get an answer on why. I'm like, do you really think it was paranormal? I was like, dude, that place was so dark that it was just sickening.
Yeah, I know the movie Prison Break. Have you seen that one?
I watched it.
When he was in solitary confinement, they had to stop filming because he was experiencing paranormal activity, and he hated being in there. I read an article. I wish I could get him on the show because I want to know what he experienced.
Right.
But I've read that he just hated being in there, and they would have to stop filming on and off because it was just so bad.
Yeah. And see, that's where I want to go. I want to be put in solitary confinement or in death row, put some equipment around me, block out my hearing, block out my sight, and just leave the cameras running and see what happens.
Yep. Yeah. I'd be curious to see what happens there. That would be really cool. Yep. If I'm not there, let me know how it goes. Thank you for sharing Paranormal Connections. And then Jessica had a question. I'd like to know your experiences with solfeggio. I've never heard of that. I might have to do some research.
Right. Me too.
Okay. So I'm going to definitely have to do some research. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, that's new to me. Message
Yep.
me that, so I won't remember how to spell it, and I'll have to. I know I do. I listen to a lot of different frequencies on like YouTube and the different
Mhm.
beats and all that, depending on my attitude and what I want to, as far as for healing or for meditation, stuff like that. So if that's anything like that, then when done properly, it seems to have a really good response.
I'm writing it down right now so that way I can remember to message you.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And then she's also going to message, yeah, if you have any information, go ahead and message me that, Jessica, and I'll make sure I forward that on for you. She says
Yeah.
it can call in demons.
That's I've done a little study in demonology. I took Demonology 101, through the Cajun demonologists. So I wouldn't mind checking a little more about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one area that I haven't researched too much in, but that wasn't I'm more of the scientific behind the scenes, and the demonology took more of a spiritual side of the paranormal than I went down.
Yeah. Well, with me, the reason why I actually started studying was in the long run, I want to be able to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And you come across a case that might earmark something like that, it's better to have the knowledge and not use it than need the knowledge and have to try to figure out who you can call to use it.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
You
No,
know.
it's funny because I mean, my team is just my husband, my son, and myself, and we may be bringing on one other person who he actually used to run the team in Vegas that I was on before I started my own team.
Okay.
And but we keep it small, but we have a long list of people who are categorized. If it's this type of haunting, we call this person. If it's this type, because we want to do more experiments, and you can't walk into a client's home and be like, hey, we've never tried this before, but can we?
Right.
So we tend to not take on too many residential cases right now because we're trying to do more experiments. But we have that long list of people that we know, if it's this, if it's leaning towards this, this is who we call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I reach out to Bishop Long quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
He's like my go-to for any type of demon case. Him and Reverend Sean Whittington out in Vegas.
Yep. I've heard the name before.
Yep. Yeah. So those are my two go-to guys for demons.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. If I come across anything or if I got a question in regards to demonology, I usually get a hold of Jeremy Leonard. I'll send him a message right on Facebook like, hey, dude, I know I took the course, but what do you think about this?
Yeah. And that's what's so nice about this field. I mean, as long as you find the people that are willing to work with you, because there's, of course you have those that don't want to share their evidence. They don't want to share locations, and they're just in it for, their own thing. But if you do enough searching, you're going to find a good group of people that are willing to share evidence, compare, ideas, brainstorm, and have enough variety that you can, you don't have to know everything in detail. You could always have someone to reach out to.
Definitely. And that's one thing I do like about those that like to network in this field, because you learn every day. They might try something that sparks a light bulb in you, and you might take and make a few tweaks to what they're doing, and all of a sudden you're getting the responses that you're looking for, or you're understanding something that really was kind of a block prior.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And it's nice to, because like one of those people laugh at me when I say this, but I guess it's part of my intuition and the psychic abilities that I don't pursue, because I like to research before going to a location. So I don't want to say I'm a psychic or anything like that, but I get my experiment ideas in dreams. So it's one of those, it's like, are the spirits telling me, hey, so I'll get the scientific experiment in my dream, and I'll reach out to someone who I know that works in that field. And it's like, hey, what would you do to this to make it work?
And you know what? It probably is spirit bringing that to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And with me, I don't like, when I go out on an investigation with a team, I don't like knowing much about where I'm going. Mm-hmm. Just for the fact is, I want to pick up on my own evidence. I don't want anything to influence me. Mm-hmm. Because you and me can go into the same location. You might get XYB, where I might get CDF.
Right. Yep.
So, but if I go and looking for XYB, CDF ain't going to appear.
Right. Yep. Yeah, no, it's the journalist in me, because I've been, prior to doing this full time, I've been, a journalist and freelance writer. I want to know what questions to ask.
Right.
I want to know, and I, having that knowledge has helped me with quite, and, even when we get answers that we wouldn't have thought would have been the answers, knowing the history of the location has helped understand why we got that answer.
Yep. That's why, on our team, everyone has their own job, and we do have someone that does the research of the location that we're going to, and they look into it, and they have that prior knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I know if we're filming, and like when they're doing interviews from the locals that are there, mm-hmm. that are at that location, a lot of times I won't even be in the building during that, because I don't even want to hear that, because I don't want any kind of influence.
Right. Yep.
I want to be able to go and have that honest communication, kind of like how we're doing. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a set format for this show. Nope. This is how I like to communicate with Spirit. I don't want that set format. I want to come in. If I pick up on something, okay, we'll take it from there. Let it take its own direction.
Right. Yeah. No, and it's funny because on our team, we do a complete opposite of how most teams do it. The sensitives and the, empaths and the psychics, you go in blind, where I do all the research. And then my husband and my son, who I always joke that they're as psychic as a wet noodle. they're the ones going in blind.
Right.
So, but it's interesting. But when they say they feel or see something and it fits with it, it's like, oh,
right.
It's like, you do.
Well, everyone has them abilities. We're all born with them. It's just whether you live up to and fulfill them.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I always, we were actually talking about it this weekend as my mom growing up. Granted, I was too busy, with sports and everything like that for me to actually get in trouble. But the few times that I tried to do something I shouldn't have done, like go to a party or, I said I'm going to a friend's house and I end up going somewhere else, she always knew. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, did you know? And it's like, I didn't tell anyone. How'd you know?
Because they probably did it when they were younger. Mm-hmm. Joys of being a good parent.
She's always knew.
It's like, probably had the intuitiveness, in her that, she was able to pick up on her. Either that or someone spotted you and ratted you out. So.
Yeah, and that could have been too, but it's like, oh, she always knew. It's funny. And Bill, thank you for joining us today. He says morning res. And
hey, Bill.
And Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us. Okay, we have about 15 minutes left. Is there anything? I know you have a new show that you're doing.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. Red Road Paranormal Podcast. Me and Christina Bloom got together and decided to speak a little about Native culture, the paranormal, the supernatural, some of the teachings of our ancestors. And it's been pretty cool. It's been a nice ride. We're talking everything underneath the realm of the paranormal and cryptids. And Bill's been on the show. He'll be coming out. His episode will be coming out shortly. We're talking about Broadhead Manor a little bit. And it's really kind of opened my eyes up to meeting some more people, all across the country and possibly even collaborating with them.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, that's one of the things I love about hosting the shows is you get to meet people you probably wouldn't have.
Exactly.
Yep.
You get to hear their stories and their experiences and their evidence, and some of the stuff I've been lucky enough to see even behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. I feel blessed.
Yep.
I really am.
Cool. So besides the radio show, do you have anything else that you guys have planned, whether it's you, your team you're on, or...
Well, we always got stuff coming out on the Wisconsin Caps channel. Mm-hmm. So if you ever want to hop on over to YouTube, Wisconsin Caps on YouTube. I know we have Spirits of Menominee that's about ready to debut. Mm-hmm. That's basically, we were tasked by the convention that we host, the head of the conventions last year, to go through Menominee and check out some locations that I believe to be haunted. Mm-hmm. So that's about ready to drop. Let's see what else we got going on. We're already starting to set up for next year's convention, June 1st. up in the Menominee Marinette area. We'll have the Bigfoot
Mhm.
Paranormal Convention again. So this stuff you can also find on our website at wisconsincaps.com.
Yeah.
That's Wisconsin spelled out, CAPS.com.
Mhm.
That's the best way to keep up on what the team's doing. As far
Mhm.
as me, to keep up on what I'm doing, look me up on Facebook. Send me a friend request. Bobby Resnick Calkins. You can follow my Resnick Inc. Page or Red Road Paranormal. Between the three of them, you can usually keep track of me.
And for those of you who are watching or watching the replay, I will make sure that I have those when I upload it to YouTube. It'll be in the video description, as well as I'll share it on the all of my pages, so that way you guys can make sure you can get in contact with them and see what's going on. So,
Oh, yeah.
so we still have a few minutes left. Anything that we didn't touch on that you want to touch on?
I can sit and talk for hours with you, my dear.
I know.
So, anything else that would you like to talk about?
Oh, geez. Trying to think. Actually, going back to the ink therapy.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, Jamie Lynn. Jamie Lynn's sharing everything for me.
Hey, Jamie.
Perfect. And she says, good morning. But yes, what would be the most interesting tattoo? One that would be paranormal related and one that's not paranormal related that you've ever done?
I haven't done anything paranormal related yet. I'm still
Okay.
waiting for that perfect client to come in to say, "Hey, I want this." Far as interesting, some of the bigger pieces I've worked on, I kind of almost zone out on.
Mm-hmm.
So what's interesting to me is I'm thinking, from what I've been explained to by other artists that do spirit art, that's spirit working through me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll be working and all of a sudden it's like I'm way farther than I expected to be. I'll step back and go, wow, where'd that come from? So that's probably the most interesting thing I've had happen with doing, in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Where
that's kind of scary. You black. It's
well, it's not so much you black out, but because when you're working on someone, you're literally working like this close to the skin. You're right up in there working, and then when you take that step back, it's a unique feeling because it's like you don't realize how much detail and how in depth the whole thing had pulled together.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's almost like one of those things where when you're driving and then you're like, holy crap, I've been driving for you don't realize how far you've gotten.
Exactly. And you might have been distracted while you're driving, so you didn't notice it, but yet who took the wheel while you weren't paying attention? Who made sure
right.
you didn't crash or run anything over?
Right, exactly. Yeah, sometimes I should have been in many crashes.
You and me both. You and me both. I've had a lot of miles, underneath my belt. And there's times where I look back, go, how did I make it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not to admit anything. There's been times where you've gone out at night that I don't know how I made it home.
Yeah. Well, see, I've never gone that far now. Being in the auto glass industry as long as I was always having to keep my license for driving company vehicles. So I never went out and drank at night. If I went out drinking, someone else was driving. I was in someone else's vehicle the whole work. So I got lucky that way.
Yeah. No, it was only a handful of times, and I don't even remember drinking a lot. It's just all of a sudden I was home.
Right.
So it's like,
see, I've been where I put too many miles on and been so freaking tired where, you go, wow, how'd I get this far?
Yep.
A lot of times when I first moved up here to Wisconsin from the Chicagoland area, I'd make a trip down to Chicagoland to drop off the boys' mom or do something with the family, and I turn around and come right back. Well, it's 6 hours down, 6 hours back, not to mention the time you spend down there. Before you know it, you're 23 hours into a day, and, especially if it's the wintertime and you hit a storm, it's crazy. And you kind of sit back once you get home. Man, how did I make it?
Exactly. So that actually brings up a topic is, have you ever experienced a time slip?
Yes, I did. Last fall, I think it was last fall. I was coming home from an investigation and I'm coming down a highway. And this is a chunk of highway I travel quite a bit between here and Michigan. And next thing I know, I'm on an opposite highway heading back north. And I was probably about 20 minutes away from where I should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, what the hell am I doing here? And I don't scare,
Mm-hmm.
but for that split second when I realized I wasn't where I was supposed to be, that shot to my body like, what the hell just happened?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the only thing I can think of. It's like, you know, I lost that 20 minutes of time, which is roughly about 20, 25 miles worth of road
Mm-hmm.
out of nowhere. And I had to take a freaking turn off to get onto this road. You know, when it was a straight shot pretty much all the way home.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, I always tell people that I've never personally experienced that, but I was in a room doing an investigation with someone who experienced that during an investigation. And there's nothing scarier than seeing his eyes went totally black and he just stood there staring.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, now what do I do?
Like, if I was there, I believe I'd chalked it up to something was trying to jump into him.
Right. And that's what we think because, you know, and then it was like, I was counting in my head. So it was less than a minute. So it wasn't that long of a time. But when he came to, he had no idea that he had done that. He was just continuing on with what he was doing.
Wow. See, I've been jumped before,
mm-hmm.
and I knew it instantly, and I literally jumped up and was like, get the hell off me. Mm-hmm. And it went away.
Okay.
You know, I put them boundaries down, but for that split second when I got jumped, you know, it was here in my own home actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like you dropped me in the middle of Lake Michigan in the middle of winter. It was mm-hmm. that freaking cold. Mm-hmm. And it was just, and I knew what it was, just the way it came on instantly. And the minute I moved to get the hell off me, it was gone.
Right. Yep. Yeah. No, when this happened, I was counting in my head and I'm like, if I get to 30, you know, I'm getting him out of here. But then I'm like sitting here, this, you know, he's like over 6 feet tall. He's a big, bulky guy. I'm like, crap, you know, what if he turns on me? You know, all these thoughts were going.
Yeah.
So I lost time too with all these 101 thoughts racing through my head.
Yep. Just remember, you get something like that, you got to stay calm.
Yep. Oh yeah. Everyone else in the group was freaking out, but I was okay.
Yeah. I hope you got good video evidence of it too.
Yeah, we didn't, unfortunately. And that's the sad part. But Lee, thank you for joining the show. I start at 11 a.m. Eastern. So it'd be 10 a.m. your time.
See, she told me it was on her calendar. I shared your post this morning with it, and I got a response saying, it's on my calendar. I'll be there. Better late than never, Lee.
Yep. I'll get the replay up for you. And that's the tough thing with all these time zones.
Yeah. That's what happened last time. Yeah. Last time you had me on. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't realize it was, you know, you guys were an hour ahead of us when we scheduled it. So I made sure I was up and ready an hour before today.
Yeah, I always try to make sure I include Eastern on there, but still people, it's like I had someone, he was in Egypt and it was supposed to be, I told him with the time Eastern, and then I also in parentheses gave his time, but he only looked at my time. So then I get a message and it was, I think it was like 7 a.m. my time. Yep. Luckily I was up, but he's like, okay, I'm in the back, you know, the green room waiting for you. And I'm like, So because I didn't want to reschedule him, you know, I just, you know, got up, brushed the hair, put it in a ponytail real quick, and we recorded it.
Right. Well, it's like I'm supposed to be on a podcast overseas over in the UK on Monday, and I keep making sure, hey, this is what time is it there now? So what time is it now? You know, trying to make sure we got the right proper timing because, you know, this is another live show that I want to be on. Mm-hmm. I don't want to blow it, especially being that far of different time zones and everything.
Yep.
So what I've found out so far, they're 6 hours ahead of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm lucky enough to where if it's somewhere else in the U.S., I at least just log in early, and then it's like, oh, they must have meant Central.
Right. Yes, I make sure I put in every email, every message when someone wants to come on our show, it's Central.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. So, okay. Well, we are out of time. Can you just remind everybody where they can find you?
Sure. You can find me on Facebook, Bobby Resnick Calkins. You can find me on Resnick Inc. Find me on Red Road Paranormal, both on Facebook and on YouTube. Or you can find us also on Wisconsin Caps. That's Wisconsin spelled out, caps.com. Or you can also tune into our YouTube page, Wisconsin Caps also, and keep up all the investigations and everything else that we're doing. And thank you, Jamie, for putting them up there.
Yep. And I'm putting them up real quick for the website. I've added that as well.
Thank you.
Okay. So perfect. Again, thank you so much for being my first guest of the new year. This is a great way to kick off 2024. So excited.
Thank you. I was honored to come on for being your first guest of the year.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And actually, I do have you on my list for Ghost Education 101. We are having a cryptid panel.
Okay.
And I think it's in March. So I know I have Barnaby on the list, and I wanted to have you on that list as well to come on.
Cool.
So
look forward to it.
We'll be reaching out to you. And I unfortunately did not update my banner, so I just have the ones from last year, but you can always follow the show at Exploring the Paranormal Show on Facebook, or catch the replay at Heatherly PhD, and I will have the replay up later today. I do not have a guest for next week. They ended up having to cancel on me, so if I don't have a guest planned before then, we'll see you in 2 weeks. But if I do get someone, it will be a surprise guest next week. So again, thank you, Resnick, for joining me, and thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you guys all have a fantastic week. My outro disappeared. There it is. Sorry. Have a great day.